Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to our Open Enterprise monthly update webinar for June 2024. My name is Mike Hunsche, and I will do the kickoff today, and we have very exciting stuff today to show. But before we move on with that, let's quickly inform you that we will have a very nice event coming up soon. So the TTP US will take place in Provo, Utah, in the Open Text Office. It will start on the Saturday of 13th of July until Friday of the 19th. The registration link is here, and I will as soon as I hand over, I will send the link in the chat here so that you get it directly. Yeah, there are some really interesting workshops over there. So I will do the upgrade workshop to 24. Whatever at that moment. And we will take a look at the Unified Management Console during that workshop. And there are lots of sessions during the week. So the workshop will take place on Saturday. So if you haven't registered so far, please do so. It's a free conference. It's also possible to attend online. So if you don't have the time to be in Provo during that time frame, but yeah, join us and get the latest information at TTP US. That said, so
and Mike, you didn't say all the great sessions I'm doing on Filer.
Because you didn't say the nice sessions we do during the Filer webinar, right? That's the reason why. But you are totally right, Robin. You're totally right. So there are lots of other sessions. So we do ZenWorks sessions, we do IDM sessions. As Robin mentioned, we do, or he is doing Filer sessions and workshops on the weekend as well. Group-wise workshop, is it right, Robin? You're also doing
there's a Filer securing Filer workshop at the weekend, and then another half-day workshop on the Wednesday around Filer as well, and several Filer sessions during the week.
Sounds fantastic. So yeah, very, very interesting. So please join, and I will send the registration link, and then you will find the whole agenda over there, the draft agenda at the moment. Yeah, so that's it. And sorry, Robin, that I miss your session.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Mike, just sorry for interrupting. I think just to be clear, the workshops are not going to be available online. It's only for in-person, I believe.
Correct.
And most of the sessions are going to be broadcasted, so you can join live remotely. But there are also some sessions that are happening parallelly, and those may not be broadcasted due to the technical limitations in the room.
Right.
So, but I think the agenda is on the website, so please take a look. So those that are marked as the primary sessions at the slot, then those would be broadcasted and you should be able to join remotely. Thank you.
Sounds good. So I will quickly pick up the TTP, and then we can see here the TTP US. Come on.
Mike, just a quick question here from Kevin, asking if you're going to cover in your session upgrading DSfW. Is that part of your upgrade session?
That's not part of the upgrade session, but we can talk about it if he's available.
So I think if on Wednesday, like Robin said, again, I think there's a slight change in the format of the event. So on the Wednesdays, again, there are some workshops. So if there is probably enough interest, and if we can prepare in time, we might be able to put together something around the DSfW as well for the workshop.
Sure. Okay, so just quickly so that you understand here, the draft agenda is not finalized so far, but it will be soon. And there you see the left-hand side presentation in the Kimbanogas room. Those are recorded and visible online during the event, and the other one in the Yosemite room are also recorded as far as I know, but they are not visible online.
It's pronounced Yosemite.
Yosemite. Thank you very much.
It's one of those strange American words like Arkansas that you pronounce wrong.
Okay, thanks, Robin. Thanks for the help. Okay, so agenda for today. Girish will give us an update on the releases that are coming up, and then we will have a discussion with Kieran about PAM and DSfW. So that said, Girish, what about releases? Where are we going?
Yep. So I will probably try to keep this short. So Kiran, who is going to be presenting the PAM and DSfW, will have sufficient time to go over, and we can come back to this or any other topic on the releases at the end if we find time. So the upcoming release is going to be the version 24.3, and that's going to be coming out in July. So we are in the final leg of validations and preparing our portals to post the build. So this is going to come out with new features in Unified Management Console. So the SIFS management is going to be fully available in the Unified Management Console, and as well as the DFS management. And also there are several defect fixes and the feedback incorporations that we have done on the Unified Management Console. So please watch out for that. We did cover SIFS management to an extent, I think, in the previous webinar. So we're gonna be the next webinar is going to be more on the 24.3, and hopefully we'll have enough time to showcase the new stuff in the Unified Management Console around the DFS and few other things. On the CIS side, also we have added a few of the a tool and some improvements as well, enhancements. So the customer requested enhancements on that. So watch out for that, and we will probably do a little bit more in-depth demo on that as well in future. And the primary focus of this session is around the PAM integration with the DSfW. So this is more towards how do you actually implement this in a DSfW environment to take advantage of all the secure way of managing the workstations and desktops and so on and so forth. And we have also done a few other enhancements, but we're not going to go deep into this. But the next update is going to be 24.3, and that'll be coming out in July. It will also include fixes to the defects or issues that the customers have reported, and also the SLES update. Apart from these quarterly updates, just as a reminder, we have also been doing the operating system SLES updates on a monthly basis. So you should be expecting that towards the third week of the third Thursday of the month. So that is to include all the security updates that SUSE has shipped to the OES channel. So that have been coming since we did the previous webinar. That's on the OES, and 24.4 will be an ISO release. So we're going to be seeing an LTS release in 24.4. So you're gonna we are planning to keep the base same. We are not changing the base. So we want to move to SLES 15 SP7 when that is out, because that's going to be the last SP on SLES 15 and will come with a longer support life cycle. So we would want to update to that. So in preparation to that, we are not planning on updating the SLES base version in the 24.4 release. And it would also be heavily focused on UMC and mostly be driven through additional testings and validations and third-party testing and so on and so forth. So we will come up with a beta program for that. So please look out for the announcements through the email notifications, and also in the webinars we will make an announcement on that. So that's going to be coming out soon. It's a heads up. So this is where you could make a difference. Please do join the beta program and give us the feedback. So in whatever you might need to get to the beta program and also to implement the test ISO, we can provide you that support. Please do join the beta programs. We'll let you know how to join the program in itself soon, but that's something that's going to be coming out after the 24.3 release. So Mike, I think that's all I wanted to mention at the moment. But if there are any important questions that we need to take at the moment, of course every question is important, but if there's anything burning that we need to take at the moment, we will do that. Otherwise, we'll give control to Kiran, because probably he has to cover quite a bit now.
That's
before you kick off, there's just one question from Rodney about status of fixing the OES Windows client. Apparently it's not working with advanced authentication using TLS 1.3. And I think that was supposed to be fixed sometime this year, and he's saying it's been pushed to next year now. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have the first-hand information at the moment, but we will chase this with the advanced authentication team to see what can be done. Thanks for the feedback. We'll work with them. And Robin, Kevin says Mike's English is better than his German. So
I know.
Thank you very much.
Let's face it, Mike's English is better than my German too. Most probably better than my English as well. So
no.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin, for that.
Yeah. So over to Kiran, right? As when I heard about PAM, I was thinking about DSfW and pluggable authentication module. No, that's not what you are showing us, right?
This is different, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
You'll get to know.
Good. So it's your turn. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Robin. And thanks, Girish, for the initial introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, for all joining us today from different parts of the world. So today, I would like to present the integration with DSfW with PAM, which is a privileged account manager. This is our native NetIQ product, which we have it in-house and we test and release them regularly. So with respect to DSfW interoperability and third-party validation, of late we have got a lot of demand from the field and a lot of queries from the field asking us for different kind of supports with respect to various NAS storage systems, or it could be anything on a different third-party applications. For example, like PAM, or it can be NetApp, or it can be even Citrix kind of virtualizations. So we have been covering all those, whatever we can. We have a strategy for every release, and we plan and we test them and we try to publish them and what we have tested and what we have certified. Out of that, recently we thought we have to touch this PAM, NetIQ PAM, and try to see how we are working and integration, how we can integrate with PAM here. So as part of that activity, we did initially a POC and last release, and this release we have covered a little bit of extensive testing on that to see if the basic things are working there. So this is all about today's session. So I will just move on to my next slide. Yeah, starting with PAM. So can anyone confirm if my slides are okay and my audio?
I can see your PAM site there.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Robin. So what is PAM? So as you can see, the diagramic description here on the left, which talks about the life cycle of PAM, where we define the rules and discover what is going on in the corporate. We'll try to manage and protect the resources or the users from the extracurricular activities or some malware activities or any other attacks from the outside world which is happening. We do monitor that, detect abnormal usages, respond to incidents. We have a review and audit happening all the time. This is the overall cycle of PAM as a product. So it's a software solution which helps the organization to protect unauthorized access to the privileged accounts. So let's go ahead and see what are the benefits of using PAM. So what do we have is we have an authorized access where we have a control of a PAM administrator where which user is coming and what kind of rights the particular user should have to access a particular high-end server. It could be or in high security server which can be which needs only privileged access to restricted users. So that can be done. It also provides monitoring capabilities along with the authorization, where the activities like the live activity of what is going on the server can be monitored, along with a lot of audit trails which are available, which can be audited later, and action can be taken according to the audits which are produced by the system. It also protects the resources from high risk from outside identities. PAM also supports a secure MFA also. So if the corporate requires a two-level authentication, that can be also integrated. The capabilities are there in that with PAM, and that can be done as well. So let's start with, as part of this PAM, so what we started with is most predominantly used services are, these are one or two services which are remote RDP and SSH services. So these are the agentless capabilities which are available in PAM as a product, where end users or the computers doesn't need to have any kind of the client or any kind of client for that matter to be installed on the systems. There is a straight up a web access which can happen where the users log in and access the PAM user portal or PAM user console. So once they access the console, they do authenticate to the LDAP server, and after that, depending on what kind of privileges that particular user is given, the access will be going through that. So the diagram on the right talks about that. So on the center, we can see the PAM server. On the left, Albert is the end user who wants to access a Windows server, which could be a high secure server where there could be a limited restricted access. And if at all that organization or the administrator wants to have monitor and audit that particular session, that can be done through PAM. So PAM server comes in between where from the PAM, there is an authentication happens to the LDAP server. So this LDAP server can be an AD, it can be DSfW, or it can be any LDAP source. So here in this testing during this release, we have connected PAM server to our DSfW and source as an LDAP source, and we bring in all DSfW domain users as the end user, assigning some rights to that users and giving some privileged access. So that's what is being exercised. So as the diagram represents, so Albert is the end user who can have access to the RDP session to a Windows server. So there are various policies and rules which can be set, which we will go through during the demo, depending on what kind of access the administrator decides to give to this Albert. So Albert can be any level of user who will be accessing it. So high level elevated user can have more rights to access the server, whereas less privileged users can have very much restricted access to the server. So that's what it is. So secure and monitor RDP access can be done through the administrator. So monitor the employee actions during the privilege access. So that can be a live session which can be monitored, which will be very much unknown to the end user. So then, depending on what kind of activity has been performed, the PAM administrator who has logged in and monitoring that can take actions on with various ways. It can be from on the live session itself. If he can see something suspicious, he can go ahead and terminate the sessions, or from the audits later, he can look at the audits and replay the video, what activity has been done, and then take necessary actions or send a mail to the user that what has been attempted is not supposed to be attempted. So that is what we will see in detail when we go to the demo. So I'll just pause for a minute here if you have any questions. For web-based RDP, this is one of the agentless capabilities of PAM as a product.
Don't look like there are any questions that have come in there. I think Michael and Mike are having some sort of secret conversation in a foreign
German conversation. So secret for you.
Yes, but no other questions.
Okay, sure. Thank you. We're good then. So moving on. So this is. Sorry, Robin, you have something to say?
No.
Okay. Okay, so moving on with that privileged access, agentless access as a remote web-based RDP session. So this is the next level of extensive description of how that particular configuration is done which is represented in the flow chart on the left. So here administrator is Marcus and end user is Albert here. So privilege access will be given via a PAM console, user console, so which you can see it on the right here. So yeah, so this is the end user, which will be having a PAM access. Through PAM, he will be accessing the Windows server here. So from this flow, if I quickly go through this, first step is to add Active Directory as an LDAP server. So here we have DSfW added as an LDAP server source, as an LDAP source. Then we need to go ahead and create a credential vault for that particular Windows server. So which user would be having the access? Here it could be the administrator or any other user who would have access to the Windows server here. Define a role for that particular user who is coming through PAM for that LDAP users, and create a resource pool where with the Windows Vault and agentless Windows servers. So once the role is created, we will create a resource pool for that particular agentless Windows server access, which is RDP here. So create an assignment for that RDP web access and give the permissions. That would be the next step. And the administrator console goes ahead and see the reports here. So the recording actions all will be done as explained in the previous slide, and that can be monitored here. So here I'll show the scenarios which you can go through. I'll just what kind of activities with the scenario and the result here. So for example, if a user end user is the user called Albert, logs in as a user, logs into the user console, and when that particular user is trying to access the server and try to install a software, for example here, this action is recorded and everything will be captured in form of video and also audit, and it will be under the reports. So that can be monitored live during the session or later from the audit log. So there are some time restrictions also which we can keep, where Albert wants to access the server on a very odd time, but that would be denied depending on what kind of configuration we have set and what is the access time where we can have the access to the web server or Windows server there. So if any malware or any malicious activity or unintentional activity is done by Albert, that would be again recorded, and action can be taken immediately if Marcus is looking at the session and if he is live looking at the session, or from the reports later. So yeah, Marcus is monitoring the live session, and in that sessions, Marcus can the administrator of the PAM can terminate the session right then, and go with that action anytime. So similarly, this is for the Linux boxes. What we have seen earlier is for the Windows, which is web-based remote RDP, which we have done. That talks about that. So this slide talks about secure and monitoring elevated SSH without the thick client. So here we give privileged access to end users to have an SSH session to a Linux box here. So very similar points to what it was for Windows. Only thing which I want to cover is that even in case of Linux access, we end user node don't necessarily need any thick clients like PuTTY or MoveXTram. It's just about accessing user console, PAM user console, and accessing through that, which we will see it in the demo here. A similar workflow on the left, which is pretty much the same of how we have configured it for Windows RDP. Here we would be configuring for web SSH. And most of the actions and creation of the policies and creation of the users and credential vaults would be very similar to what we have done for Windows. So with respect to scenarios also, very similar scenarios where it is from the Linux side. So where user Slivia is having an access to the Linux box here. So she executes some commands, and all commands which is done on the console are recorded, and that can be looked upon on what all has been done from the interface, admin interface, which we'll be seeing in the demo. So again, any kind of malware installations or any kind of activities done by the user can be monitored, and the sessions can be terminated at that time. Yeah, that's all I have with respect to the slides. I will go ahead and demo so that we can actually see what really is that, how it looks, and then we'll go on the live setup also.
Just a quick question here from John, going back a little bit, is asking, is the monitoring in real time? And if so, can the admin close the RDP session immediately?
Yes. Yes, that's right. So that can be done. That we would show, we will see it in the demo as well. So any RDP session can be live, and that can be monitored live, and termination can happen instantly if at all the administrator decides to terminate the session. Okay, so any other questions before we go on to the demo?
At the moment, no.
Thank you, Robin. Let me exit from this and try to play a video, which is a recorded video of the setup. With the interest of time, I have done this recording where I will show you initial installation and configuration of PAM with DSfW. Later, we would actually go into the sessions of the questions which are asked now on how DP sessions are monitored and on live, and how that can be controlled. That we will show, but that we will see it live. So let me play this. So this is one of my Linux box where I have installed the agentless RPMs in a tar file. I have just downloaded that from the PAM location and unzipped it and installed that on the system. So once after that, this is my login where I have I will log into the portal, which is this is a PAM console where we go ahead and configure the LDAP sources, and later we'll configure credential sources and user profile, user roles, and subsequently assign rights to the domain users. In this case, it is the DSfW domain which we are adding as a LDAP source here. So here I have logged in as a user, as an admin of the PAM. And once that is done, I will go to the settings and try to add an LDAP server. So here, if you can see, nonnamemap242.com is my server. So this is my DSfW domain, nnm242.com. I give this as an LDAP source with the IP details. And then I'll try to give the base DN, and I'll go and select the subtree option so that it will pull all the users from top level. I have to give the user DN here. So in this case, which is administrator, which is under users, and with the DC here is nnm242.com. So I provide the administrative credentials of my DSfW domain. Go next. So this is how I get this LDAP server added to PAM. So once this is done, I would be going ahead and this is sort just to see the details of what domain it got added. So that is some details of it. Then I would go ahead and create a credential vault here. So here the credential vault is just, maybe I'll just go a bit back. So once I go ahead and add a credential vault, so in the credential vault, I will go and try to go to Linux, Unix, and network device and try to select SSH here. So I'm creating a credential vault for my SSH service. So SSH as a service which we are provisioning it for the users. So I just give a name to it. So I will give the IP address to which I would be SSHing it. So for the credential vault, I do create the vault, generate the host key, and finish off with this process here. So once this credential vault is created, I would go ahead and add the credentials of the user. This could be like a proxy user or the user which we would be logging in. Here in this case, the root is the user which I'm giving it to make it simple. So root and the password of that particular box, Linux box, which I would be provisioning it for the DSfW users. So next comes access control. Under that, I have to go and create a user role for that particular SSH. So here I create a user called SSH user. So that would be a user who can do use SSH as a service. So in this case, I just went ahead and tried to select my source, which is my DSfW LDAP source, and browsed through it and selected one user, which is DSfW1 user. So for the user role which is created, SSH user is the user role. And I associated one of the DSfW user, which would be a privileged user later as a user which is assigned to that particular user role. Once that is done, I need to go ahead and create a resource pool. This resource pool is for that particular SSH session. So I will go ahead and create a pool here called SSH pool. Then I go ahead and select SSH server. And now I go ahead and try to add that particular resource which is already created, which is DSfW-SSH. Add this, and the final step would be to have the assignment set. So SSH pool is the pool which is created. I select that particular pool. The user role, which is SSH user, which I've created for that user role, I have associated one of the DSfW domain user by pulling it from the source that I have associated to this particular assignment. and I will go ahead and try to assign to an SSH here. So permissions, it is web SSH. So here are the things where we go ahead and select the web SSH here. Now next, on the privilege elevation, there are various settings which can be done, but I'm just going with the defaults here. So here, if you see the time restrictions, there is a time range and custom dates also defined here. So that can be restricted to a particular time or to a particular day or to a particular time period also. So I'll skip that and go with the default. So here, as I said, there is a two-way authentication, which is also supported by PAM here. So we skip this for this demo, and I'll just disable secondary authentication. And I'll move on to create the particular assignment. So this is all the 4 steps which we follow with while creating. First is LDAP source, and next is credential vault and pools. We need to create a resource pool, and then user role, and then assign it to the particular service. This is all from the configuration side I have. So we can move on to the live login of that user, and then look at how do we have a remote RDP session happening and remote SSH happening to users which are provided. If you have any questions, I'll wait for a minute. If not, I'll go for the live session later.
Yes, Kiran, there are some questions here. Is there a wizard which includes all these steps? That's one question from John.
Okay. So there is a documentation which is available, which I have referred to configure all this. But what we are trying to do is, as part of this, we were coming up with a community post kind of thing, like a cool solution kind of thing, where we want to cut short and just to make sure how do we quickly go ahead and configure, because PAM as a product, as an administrator, if you see, there's a huge content and there's a lot of other features available. So we have not yet explored all of them. But to make it simple, we are coming up with a document reference. We are referring to that in our OES documentation when we release 24.3. But along with that, we would have a link provided in that to either pointing to a community post or to a whole solution. So where you can go ahead and refer to that, where you can quickly come up and set up the PAM with the DSfW or with an AD seamlessly. So I think that's coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thanks. And another question from Kevin. Is there a way to automatically import keys or credentials when they install a new Linux system, or is it always a manual process here? So give some keys with the installation and automatically bring the systems in this environment?
So okay, if I ask you the question to elaborate a bit, so is it the question about pulling in the users from the source, which is an AD source, or is it
No.
about the...
So if you install, for example, 5 new OES servers or Linux boxes, so is it possible to automatically bring them into this environment, or is it always a manual step to bring each and every new server for SSH connections, for example, into the environment?
Yeah, that has to be manual, Mike. So to answer Kevin's question, because any new system has to be pulled in manually only, because it is each session. We can have user profile created for that particular SSH, but the particular server has to be pulled in manually. Every SSH server has to be pulled in manually. Even for the matter, even Windows has to be pulled in manually. What we can only do is from the assignments with respect to the users. Instead of user, we can give assignments or rights to a particular group from the domain. have the SSH access given to a particular Linux box. To my knowledge, what I have seen, it has to be manual.
Okay, but Kevin, we can discuss that in Provo if you are joining, and then see what we can do later on, maybe. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. So let's move on to the live session here. So we are done with the configuration as we have seen until now. So I will log in as one of the domain user, which has been provisioned with a remote RDP SSH. So DSfW user 1 is my user. I'll give the credential and password. So this is, I'm logged in as a domain user. So the profile which is provided for this particular DSfW user 1 is DSfW-SSH, which we have configured a while back. So this is the particular access given. So for this user right now, there's only one agentless provisioning done and configured, which is SSH. So I click on this. When I say start session, see it straight away goes to that particular console and logs into the system. So here I'm not using any kind of client, any other client like PuTTY or MoveXDAM or anything of that sort, as we have seen in the earlier slides. So it is just the login to my PAM console, user console, and from then, depending on what is configured by the administrator for this particular user, that can be seen in my access, and from then you just have to click on that and there you go, and you will see the login page. So this is how it is. So I do some activities. So I do some command line activities, which is done. So one more session I'll open here as an administrator. So this guy in this window is an administrator of the PAM, who would be monitoring the user who has just logged in right now, which is DSfW user 1. So in this, I will not go to other details. I'll directly go and jump into the reports here. Reports is the section where you see all the audits and also monitor and control and disconnect the session if required. So just ignore all these things because this is done during the testing. So I would go on top, which is the latest, if you can see this. So DSfW user 1 is the user which is logged in, and the web SSH is the service which is used. I'll go to the details here. So from details, I can see that user is DSfW user 1 coming in from which so and so host, and what is the access? The target is this particular pool which we have created, and the user is the user logging in as root user. I'll go to the next tab here where I can see the keystrokes. So what I have done on the other console, I have done one ls and one I have done cat etc null release. So okay, I think there is an issue here. Looks like a bug here. So this is how it will be tracked through and audited, where each and every command can be seen here on this. Maybe I'll just log off and log in later. And this is keystroke replay, where you can go ahead and see what has been executed on the system, which is a replay of that. So let us assume the session has been provided for half an hour for a elevated user. The user logs in, does some operations, does some activity, and then logs out. Later, as an administrator, administrator can come and have a look at what has been done with the video replay, and then see what exactly happened on the system. Simultaneously, live session talks about what's going on, and if the admin wants to monitor what is going on the system, sitting at a remote location anywhere, can do that monitoring. Not sure why this live session is not coming up. Yeah. So this is the live session where I'm seeing the exact screen of what the other user is doing here. So So when I say here, I see the same screen here. Something here, I see the same. So this is how the administrator can monitor. And coming to the question, if that can be disconnected, if there is some activity which is not supposed to be done by that particular elevated user, just the administrator just can go ahead and click on this disconnect. That session would be disconnected remotely. So once that is done, this session is gone and I'm back to this page here. So this is one of the demonstration of how SSH as a services provision and how end user is accessing that. I'll try to log out and try to log in as DSfW user 2 here. Quickly check on the remote RDP. So for this DSfW user 2, we have configured Windows RDP to one of the Windows server here. So I click on here, the same thing, start the session. The remote RDP logs in seamlessly directly onto the desktop. So, sorry, like there's a crash there. I'll just wait for 10 seconds so that if that comes up, oops, I think there is a problem with respect to the RDP. Sorry about that. I'll try to log out and log in for one more time. If not, I have a recording as an option B, so I would be showing it from the recording. Okay, doesn't seems to be working. There's no launch happening. Let me go to the other screen, try to see if I can pick up everything. If at all, if there's any session already. Okay, this looks fine. Okay, sure. So with respect to the RDP, I would use the recording which I've done. I will jump on to directly the remote RDP. Yeah, so okay, so this is the user which I'm logging in as DSfW user 2 to see how if that user has an access to the RDP. So I would see that Windows RDP is the resource which is created. I will start the session and I can see login happening directly to the Windows machine. So similar to what we have seen for SSH, we can monitor that from an administrator side. So there is some operations which is done here, like going to that and going and opening that run. So here I have logged in as an administrator here. So go to reports, sessions, and try to see what is there on that particular Windows RDP session. Go to street keystrokes and try to play what we have done for Windows, or what we have done for SSH. So similar to that, I can see what has been done by the user after login, opening what are all the operations done that can be monitored by doing a replay of that. And next I can go and see the live session, very similar to what we have seen in SSH session. And from the keystrokes, I can just go ahead and do a disconnect if at all I want to terminate that session immediately. So that will go ahead and the session is disconnected there, if you can see on the top. And that's all about that particular video. Yeah. So this is all. Sorry for not being able to log in as that and see it live, but yeah, there's some issue which I'm not very sure. Yeah, that's all about the SSH and Windows RDP session. So that's all. That finishes my session for today. I'm open for questions if there is any.
Yeah, thank you, Kirin. Yeah, there are some questions. So especially about PAM. So will PAM operate probably in FIPS encrypted environments? You know that?
Yeah, I will get back on that. I have during that documentation admin, when I'm going through that, I have seen a section which talks about FIPS, but I cannot comment whether it works. But I assume that should be working, but I have to go through the details and then get back to you on that.
Thank you. Another question is PAM working together with one-point multi-factor authentication?
Yeah, so PAM has that. I think in the documentation we can go ahead and refer to that. But right
Okay.
now the documentation where I have seen is it is advanced authentication, radius authentications is what they have supported, which is mentioned in the doc.
Mm-hmm.
But to be very specific on what all MFA which they are supporting, again, I think we need to refer to the documentation and latest release notes.
Okay, so there's another question on that. So if it is possible to pass through multi-factor authentication tokens, for example, YubiKey to the PAM sessions onto the remote clients, right? So I think we have to come back with answers to that.
Sure. Sure, I'll take that questions and then I'll get back to you onto this, like what all information we get from the PAM team.
Okay, and can the access as user credentials be passed through from the username and password that was entered into PAM? So that the user would RDP the host using their own credential, for example? So that's a question from Scott.
So the user credentials, what we have given is that comes through like a proxy. So the user which is logging in has to authenticate to the LDAP source. It can be an AD or it can be a DSfW or any source that gets authenticated. Once that is done, because that's the reason we add the LDAP initial LDAP server. Since after that, it all depends on how the user role is defined and what is the configuration done for that particular service which is getting provisioned. For example, if it is RDP, so for that RDP, what user of that Windows system have you been provisioning? So that user, it can be administrator or it can be any other user. That user has to be configured while we configure that particular pool, RDP pool.
Okay.
I think I have seen some REST API. Yeah, it is built on the REST APIs.
Ah, okay, there's the chat. Yeah, so Kevin is saying he has not reviewed DSfW impairment for a long time and will try it after the GDP. So maybe we can discuss it, Kevin, right? Sure.
Sure, Kevin. Thanks for that. Please do try out and let us know if you are having any other expectations or anything new findings which you have seen, so that we can definitely take it into our testing scope.
So are there any other questions around OES iPrint whatsoever? So we have 5 minutes left. So please take the time to ask your questions. So if it is an online presentation, I can dance a little bit, but here it's impossible. Yeah, so if there are not coming any questions, I think, is there an update on iPrint printing to IPP? Rodney is asking. IPP protocol, this was something brought up last year.
Hey, sorry, Mike, I will take that question.
Okay.
We actually added the printer discovery to be over the IPP protocol, IPPS to be specific, but we have not extended that to also to be printing. But we are working on an iPrint architecture update, and along with that, we're going to be including this capability of using the IPP gateway with the backend printers as well. So watch out for that. It's not in the product yet.
Does iPrint support driverless printing similar to what they do with Linux Mac Coops now? Hey, Robin, I think you showed that, didn't you?
There's driverless printing that you don't need to have a driver installed on your workstation. We've had that for several years now. When did that come out? Back in 18.2, I think. But so you don't need to install a driver on your workstation. There's a number of ways that you can print through web pages, through iPrint Lite, and so on. Email printing, even. All of those don't need to have a printer driver.
So, Kevin, yeah, it's possible right now. How about the printer map not requiring Internet Explorer? So far can do from Firefox. I think support showed an option how to.
Yeah, you can put Edge in old format. Personally, I tend to just use a HTML editor and just do it manually rather than using the old map tool. So just creating it in HTML editor. If you want to know what tags to put on, just do it once in the map tool, then you'll see what needs to be there.
And Girish, I think we will bring something into UMC, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So we would be adding the map tool capability into the UMC when we bring iPrint management into UMC. That would be towards the end of this year.
Sounds good.
Sorry.
So, no problem. Yeah, we are at the hour, nearly 1 minute. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Kieran, for the wonderful session, for driving us through PAM and with DSfW. That was very, very valuable. Is that correct, Robin?
Yep,
Correct English?
that's correct.
Yep. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Kieran. Girish, thanks for the update. Robin, thanks for the help and remind me about the filer sessions. Yeah, I hope we will see us again next month with the Open Enterprise monthly update, and all of those who are joining TTP US, we will see us there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Thanks
Bye.
all. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Mike.